I'd like to first introduce you to the panel. We have President Gordon, Vice President Dr. Smith, Vice President Dr. Hagan, Vice President Dr. Palmer, and our ASI President and Executive Vice President Juli Santos and Joe Lopez. So at this time, if you guys would please grab a piece of pizza and a drink, and then go ahead and be seated.
Is there any chance that the library hours will be opening more? And if so, when will they happen? You went.
Okay, we had a meeting on earlier this week. We met with the president and vice president of ASI and the librarian and the associate librarian discussing hours. We're hoping that within 10 days we'll be able to extend the hours to open a little earlier so that students would have access to printers so they can print out materials for class, and try to stay open from 9 to 10:30 so the computers and the library resources on the first floor will be available. Our goal is to have it worked out within the next 10 days.
How do you make decisions about cutting classes? What classes? How you determine which classes should be cut, or how and when and why?
I just mentioned that we're going to have to be bringing down our FTES. Now, which classes are decided to be reduced? Vice President Smith, you might want to comment on that.
We know that last spring we took in 3,300 new students. So we're coming down by 3,300 students. We have a pretty good idea in which colleges and departments those students would be in. Our institutional research office has calculated for the colleges how many students they will be missing by not opening enrollments and how many sections they should be coming down. So we're trying to target it to where those students are, or would be.
So do you have a target now, or are you still trying to, in the process of figuring things out?
Oh, they have received the target for decrease in sections as of, it must have been at least a few weeks ago. But it's a moving target. We're trying to see, remember, we've taken a very large number of undeclared freshmen. Well, where do they declare in the freshman and sophomore year? So it isn't that students come into a specific program and stay there. So we know we've been planning for the decrease in the spring, but the other question is the demand department to department does change each semester.
Do you guys have a view of what the situation is going to be like next semester? And if so, what steps are you taking to improve the situation so the fees don't increase and more teachers get laid off?
Next semester, we're going to have to close the spring semester. All campuses are going to have to do this. Very few students, except for, I think, credential students, Ephraim, and other students are going to be able to come, but no new students. Is that correct, Ephraim?
That's correct. We will be closed to new students in all but credential programs for our current students. Very few openings for new students. Actually, I believe in the whole CSU, as of about 10 days ago for the spring, they were letting in, they had just 1,700 applications for the whole system. So there's a problem for upper division community college transfer students.
And that's because we're going to have to be bringing down our FTES over the next 2 years, because this campus has been greatly over-enrolled and been one of the largest over-enrolled. So we're going to be bringing down our FTES for only the students that the state now pays for. So we're going to have to greatly reduce our student count.
Have furloughs next semester and for the years to come?
Furloughs are supposed to end at the end of the current academic year. That is, we will have furlough days during the spring semester, but they're supposed to be terminated. They're only supposed to exist for 1 year.
Then in the case of student tuitions and fees, are you planning to make that budget, specifically of student fees, transparent so that students can easily access where their money is going?
Student fees are always transparent.
When I took over as CFO several years ago, making the budget as transparent as possible is one of my objectives. If you go on to the portal and go to the budget websites, you can look at all of the university's budgets, and student fees are folded in and they're treated as part of the general funds, but you'll be able to see the amount of revenue collected. You'll be able to see how the dollars are allocated out down to the cost center, because that has always been an issue, that dollars weren't made available, but you couldn't follow. But we have tried to put as much information on the website as possible. I would think almost any budget question you would have, you could probably go to our website and get an answer.
I was wondering, is it affecting you in any way? Like you said, the staff is 10% of their annual salary is messed up. How about yours? Is it yours?
Everyone sitting up here has had a budget reduction of over 10%. I take my furlough days twice a month, and Vice President Palmer, Vice President Smith, Vice President Hagan. So it is impacting all of us too.
Like, do you feel that the budget cuts and all the furlough days how all the different classes have been taken away, do you feel that that is taking away the quality of our education? Like, if we go to a different university within the state or a different university out of the state, do you feel that we'll get a better education there than we are here, or we're still getting a great education here and the quality of our education isn't diminished and our degree is still going to be just as significant as degrees of other people in the past have gotten?
I'll be glad to answer that. I think that the quality of your education at Cal State Fullerton is always going to be number one. And even though we're going through a very troubling year in terms of the furloughs and the budget reductions, I still think that I would say that a Cal State Fullerton degree in any major is always going to be as fine a quality as you could find at any university in the United States.
Let me just respond from a student affairs perspective, because we look at education holistically. Yes, we look at higher education here at Fullerton holistically, and the nature and quality of the co-curricular experience is very important as well. Now, there is a danger. If we're not mindful, we're not careful, we can see a slippage in the nature and quality of that. But we have a group of administrators, including the Dean of Students and other Associate Vice Presidents, that look at this very carefully. We want to make sure that we're analyzing what we're doing, setting priorities, so that the quality of our essential programs don't slip at all. And I'm confident we can do that.
Coming from a student perspective, I know a couple of I wasn't able to get summer school last summer because all my classes got canceled. One of my classes got canceled this semester, and as a result, I am delayed in my degree. So I'm definitely, I know what you mean. It's a tough time, and it's not the fault of the university because we are a state university, and 70% of our funds come from the state of California. So I understand, as a student, it's tough. And it sucks that I can't get classes that I need, and it sucks that I'm going to have to be here an extra semester or year. But this is something that I'm doing to be proactive and letting my, letting the legislation know, hey, you need to make higher education a priority. Last year, I went up to Sacramento and lobbied with all the other 23 CSUs, students from there, and we knocked on every door and said, hey, you need to make higher education a priority. And maybe that was just a handful of us from all the 23 CSUs, but this is kind of a call to all students who are sitting here. If you want higher education to be a priority to the state of California, we need you to get on board with letting the legislators in Sacramento know that higher education needs to be a priority. We need to go out there and vote. We need to write letters. We need to call. And yeah, maybe they don't write back. Maybe they don't pick up the phone. But keep trying. Keep knocking on that door, because the squeaky wheel will get the grease. I mean, it sounds cliche, but if we're all on board, we need to let our voices be heard, because a lot of legislators look at young people, they look at us and they go, oh, they're just in college, they don't really know anything, they don't even